right? Now, so till now it is clear.
Can anyone tell the disadvantages of using a VM now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Any reason?
Present.
We moved from traditional to virtualization.
Yes.
Now, why do we move? Why do we need to move from virtualization to containerization?
Why we need to move?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we want to. We want to detach from as the problem of sometimes like I want to use resource optimally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. But here, if you see this diagram, right?
Yes.
With containerization, you can eliminate the guest OS.
Yes.
Correct. Because here it is taking much resources by itself, and the hypervisor as well, right? And on top of that, you need to purchase licenses for hypervisors. Correct. So you can avoid these three things if you move to containerization.
So yeah, here we from traditional we move to virtual to optimally use the resources. But same exact problem will again get replicated in a more in many more resources, right? Say for example, here we said we are underutilizing the resource, right? So we created VMs. Now we created VMs and we said, okay, let me create a VM with say 2 GB of RAM. Now you are going to install application, right? And that application is going to be using only say 1 GB of RAM. But you are like, oh, okay, let me give some memory for the OS because there is a guest OS there, right? And let me keep some RAM for the OS to work, and then 1 GB of RAM for my application. So still your maybe a 512 MB of RAM is still like idle, right? So you have not utilized it like 100%, right? And then as Pavan highlighted, now here you were buying like one license, but if you move to the other side, now you have to buy like 3 licenses because you are running 3 instances of your software, right? So that's where a lot of companies started changing their licensing strategy, right? Now one disadvantage was since you are just replicating it, right? You are just creating a copy paste of this stack onto the virtualized stack, correct? So what was happening? The license were getting copied, right? And then companies were in a loss that, oh, okay, now the licenses are getting duplicated and probably they are not earning enough, right? Because ideally you should have bought 3 licenses, but somehow we end up using only 1 license because we are just cloning the virtual machines, correct? So that's why even companies started changing their licensing strategy, right? So till now, did you understand like what is the problem on traditional and virtual hardware? Okay, so let's see some more details, right? So when you run on so this is the traditional one, right? And then the second one is a virtualization, and third one is running multiple VMs, right? So first one, if you see, your OS is trying to do 100 different things, right? So for example, on your laptop, you are not using any virtualization, right? You will be using your Word, you will be using your presentation, you will be using Excel, you will be installing databases, right? Or 100 different tools, your IDs, etc., right? So everything is now managed by your OS, right? And easily someday you will see that it is out of memory, restart your laptop and all those things, right? So this is a problem with the traditional system, right? Now what happens? We move to a slightly better version where we say that let me create a VM and try to run everything on the VM, correct? Now your OS has to manage the VM, and then VM has to manage your all the different applications, right? Now let's move to the third one. Third one, if you see, now OS was previously managing like applications. Now OS has to manage literally servers because they are all VMs, right? So do you see the problem here? You're able to see the problems here, right? So we are not actually running much efficiently. We are still trying to create problems there, right? Say for example, in any of this, if your OS, so this layer of OS crashes, it runs out of memory or runs out of disk space, or it is not able to create some network file descriptors, right? Then what happens? Your entire service is gone, right? So these are all different problems which we try to solve by moving to the containers because they are very efficient, right? And one more important point to notice: everybody is maintaining, holding a state. So in all of this, the OS or the VMs has to hold the state of the application. In what is the state of the application, how many connections are there, how much memory it is using, right? And what is the data it is running, right? Say for example, in the last one, there are multiple VMs, and say one VM is running your database and one VM is running your application. But if the host below underlying OS crashes, right, then you lost your data and you lost your application, right?